Good morning, everybody. This is Melissa. You have myself and Corey this morning. Just want to make sure everybody can hear us and to let you know that we are ready to go.
Thank you, Melissa. We have one more minute here. Okay. Looks like we're all here. Very good. All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 regular board meeting. And I'd like to welcome all our guests and all our consultants that have shown up. So thank you for being here on this lovely day. Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Okay. Director Balin?
Here.
Director Boatwright?
Here.
Director Kearns?
Here.
Director Murphy?
Here.
Director Regan?
Here.
Okay. All 5 directors are present.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I would ask you all to put yourself on mute, and you're more than welcome to say the pledge along with me, but I will recite the pledge now. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So at this time, we would like to do the public forum and welcome the members of the public who have taken the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This need not be related to any item on the agenda. However, the board cannot act on an item unless it was noticed on the agenda. Persons speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending on the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. So Corey, at this time, is there any member of the public that would like to address the board?
Not that I'm seeing at the moment, no.
Okay, then that will conclude the public comment, and we will move to the consent calendar. And Melissa, will you please read the items?
Okay, item number 1, minutes of the regular board meeting of February 22nd, 2022. And item number 2, approval of reimbursement claims for director's statement of meetings attended and or travel expenses and claim summary for February 2022.
Thank you. Is there any director that would like to pull one or both of these items before we approve them? Corey, do you see any hands up?
I do not.
Okay. Is there any member of the public that would wish to comment on the consent calendar?
Not at the moment.
All right, well, with that, I'll bring it back to the board and ask for a motion in a second.
I'll make that motion that we accept or make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Any member of the public? All right.
Not at the moment.
Thank you. No further discussion. Then Melissa, will you please call for the vote?
Okay, Director Balin?
Aye.
Director Boatwright?
Aye.
Director Kearns?
Aye.
Director Murphy?
Aye.
Director Regan?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to regular business, Melissa, will you please read the first item?
Okay, item number 3, public hearings. Consider the proposal to establish 5 district boundaries for district-based elections.
Okay, that's me. I'll kick it off here. Good morning, everybody. with us. We have Matt and Fabian and Eddie here to help us get through this next public hearing. So Matt, take it away. Thank you.
Fabian's going to run you through some different mapping options for you to consider, but just a quick reminder from some of the principles we held previously, we're looking for population equality as being our first criteria within 5% of either side of the mean generally. You don't have a lot of Voting Rights Act concerns within the boundaries of your district. And then really what it comes down to is trying to group appropriate communities of interest together. And then at some point in this conversation, after the map is determined, usually we'll need to get some direction in regards to, if assuming that you decide to go forward, which districts are up in which order. And actually why I'm thinking about it, when when Fabian shows you these maps, the final map, Director Kearns, was for you based on your question that you asked previously about the supervisorial districts. And maybe Fabian, you want to just kind of take care of that one first, which is the map that we presented, just because we imported the lines that they had for the supervisorial districts, and you can see that the population equality just isn't there, and we have a lack of contiguity in the one district. But just wanted to make sure we followed up and closed that loop with you, sir. But with that,
Matt?
Yes.
Matt, this is on. Go ahead, Barbara.
A point of order and on me, I needed to open up and I neglected to do that. I needed to open this up as a public hearing. So we need to just sort of put it on rewind, and I need to say this nice thing that Melissa had put out. Don, are you okay that I interrupted you?
Yes.
Would you like to say something before I back this up?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you. And so I apologize for this. So thank you, Matt, for letting me interrupt you. Okay. So at this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider the proposal to establish 5 district boundaries for district-based elections of members of the public, of the board of directors. Do board members have any specific questions related to this item? Were any written comments received?
President Balin, we have a staff presentation, and then we will proceed with the comments and written comments received.
Okay. And then I will complete the rest of this with when I open it up to the audience. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, great. So I've done my opening part.
Okay. So Matt, thank you, Director Balin.
Okay.
So Matt, before we get going, this is just a point of clarity for me. I wish our counsel, Jesse, was here to help me here, but maybe Melissa and I can tag team and make sure we get this right. So although the directors have seen the draft proposal maps, it's my understanding that until the 3rd actual public hearing, we can't discuss the maps. Is that correct?
Well, I think you can discuss the maps, but we're going to put them out there today. And if you would just like us to present them, that's fine. However you want to do it, but we certainly do have the ability to disclose those to you all and show you what we have. And I'm unaware of a prohibition that allows you to discuss them. If they can be shared with the public, I don't know why the board couldn't comment on them.
Melissa, what do you think?
Well, the maps are being published tomorrow for the public's view. I can grab the ordinance that Jesse sent me, and the first paragraph says that the district shall hold 2 public hearings prior to the draft maps. And this is our
something I'm sorry, Melissa. This is our 3rd meeting, but one of them didn't count, right? And so I continue to have this problem in terms of counting the number of meetings. So actually, Don, so are we sharing maps with you today, or are we just simply opening it up for public comment and then releasing the maps tomorrow?
That is correct.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. And so So Director Kearns, we will, in the future, we will answer your questions, just not today. We'll let you know about those maps tomorrow. But today, I guess we're just taking public comment and about any communities of interest that would exist. But as soon as that's over, we'll publish the maps tomorrow. So I misspoken, I'm sorry.
Thank
And
you,
it's
Matt.
because we're not counting meetings, counting meetings appropriately.
Thank you, Matt. So Director Balin, President Balin, that's the end of the presentation. Really, it's open for, I guess, public comment and director comments. Thank you.
Yes, and I think we're looking for any new information, maybe in addition to what was presented that's been recorded in our last public meeting.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
Director Murphy does have her hand up for a comment or question.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just a clarification about which meeting we are on. So just because I got a little confused on that one. So we are on the second of 4 public meetings, and at the third public meeting, we can discuss maps. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. We had one that wasn't what we didn't notice in advance, and so that one didn't count as one of those meetings. And so it's my fault for making my comments prematurely. But that is what I'm going to tell you at our next meeting when we get together on for our third meeting.
Okay, very good. So then my question is, as far as public involvement, so the public will will have access to the maps tomorrow. Is the only way that they can respond to those maps in the next public meeting?
I would think they could do written comments as well.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
Well, just the same thing you were saying, that people can submit written comments. They can do it like any other board item that you have. They could even suggest maps, or if they wanted to even submit different maps that they created themselves and needed to help, try to say, well, I have this idea. Why don't you try that? We'd be happy to respond and try to map out those scenarios.
And will, I guess this is a question for possibly Melissa and Lisa Westfall. Will that information be on our website? How will people know where they can send their comments into?
So the public hearing notice that was posted for this meeting and for every public hearing, it does state that the materials are on the TUD website, and it has my contact information as well.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much.
And we have Director Boatwright with his hand up for a comment.
Trying to hover over an unmute button. Yeah, I think my question's been answered as far as will the maps even be presented today or waiting for release tomorrow? Okay, thank you.
But just by the way, the next scheduled public hearing will be on the 22nd. So the next meeting. Am I right about that, Melissa?
You are correct, and the public hearing notice will go out tomorrow.
Great.
Any further comments or questions or concerns? Oh, yes, go ahead, Director Murphy.
Just again, a little bit more clarification. So if people are interested in this, they can look on the website. Where else will these be going out?
The maps will be posted on the TUD website, and there will be a public hearing notice in the paper tomorrow with the information regarding the March 22nd public hearing, and also that instructs them that the maps are on the TUD website.
Okay, and that'll be on in My Motherlode or in Union Democrat?
The public hearing notice is in the Union Democrat, and Lisa can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe My Motherlode usually picks it up as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
If there's no further questions or concerns from the board, were any written comments received?
No written comments were received.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the audience who wish to be heard on this matter?
Not that I see at the moment, no.
Okay. So if there is nothing further to be presented related to this item, am I jumping the gun here? Matt, did you have anything further to add on this item?
No, we were all set to do maps at my air, and I'm sorry about that. So I will do some push-ups to you later today.
Okay, so if there's nothing further to be presented relating to this item, I now declare the public hearing closed. And then the next meeting, and the public will have the maps as of tomorrow, and so we can show the maps at the next meeting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Matt and Fabian and Eddie. See you on the 22nd.
Okay,
See you later. Thank you. Have a good meeting.
thank you. Melissa, will you please read the next item?
Okay, item number 4, presentation of the Tuolumne Utilities District Communication and Engagement Plan by Raftellus.
Good morning, President Balin, members of the board, staff, and the public. We have some guests with us today that I'm excited to introduce you to. You have met them before. We have Sam Villegas. She's the Director of Strategic Communication Services with Raftellus. We have Matt Wittern, who is a Senior Consultant for Raftellus. And we also have Mary's on there, right? Mary Zambrano. I hope I said that right.
Yep.
From Raftellus. So welcome to them. The district engaged Raftellus in December of 2021 to help us out with our communications and engagement with the public, specifically related to water rights acquisition project. And so we're excited to have them here today. We have been, they've worked really close with the TUD team here, specifically Lisa Westbrook, and then occasionally Dawn and I on the communications and engagement plan. So we're excited for them to present that today. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Sam. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the chance to come before you and present this plan. And, you know, I just wanted to say, I'm going to share a little bit of a PowerPoint and walk through it. And before I do that, you know, anytime that we work with a utility to tell their story and help bring the public and their customers in, it's always really exciting. And it's always a challenge because of the complex nature of the work that we do inside water utilities, water and wastewater utilities. So in full appreciation of that, we put this plan together, and I'm just going to do a overview for you today and kind of just talk you through the elements of the plan. And you have great news to share, and it also has a price, but one that many agree is worth it. Our job is to share this information with your customers in such a way that they understand what's at stake, they understand the magnitude of the opportunity, and they have a chance to ask questions to understand it better so that they can make their own informed assessment. The plans that we write for our clients follow an industry standard approach that includes 4 main parts: research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. Many utilities will create their own plans, but they tend to jump towards just implementation, a list of activities they're going to do and when they're going to do them. What makes the plan we've provided to you more strategic and, dare I predict, more effective for you is the inclusion of the research and the evaluation. So with that, I'll just now walk you through the main elements of the plan, highlighting some key areas. The contents of the plan walk us through our assessment, the research, if you will, of your current environment, what's happening today in your community, the state, the nation, anything that'll impact or influence our success. And then it touches on our objectives, what we want to have happen as a result of our outreach. It's got our list of stakeholders that we want to reach out to, the all-important message, the messaging that we want to communicate, the channels for communication, what we call your strategies and tactics, our success measures, and of course, the implementation plan. To understand your current situation, we sat down both with staff and with you all and several members of your community. And what we were trying to do there is really suss out the opportunities and challenges that exist today that we can either seize or we need to manage through for success. So some of the opportunities are this idea of local control, water security. You have your 30th anniversary. You have a very strong reputation with customer confidence, and these are all things that we want to seize upon as we go forward. But you have some fair challenges, and I mentioned sort of the complexity of any water system and explaining that, and then combining that with rates and combining that with this acquisition. You have the challenge of having these private negotiations, which haven't enabled full transparency, but will in a moment. So that's something that we'll be able to work through here soon. The challenge of climate change being a part of this conversation, the challenge of the economic conditions as a result of the pandemic and other issues related to the pandemic, such as, limitations to the way that we can engage and interact with the public, which I think are also going to resolve themselves pretty soon. And that's all to drive us towards some recommendations as we go forward, thinking about these. The top three of which are really making sure that you're sharing your vision, being completely transparent in terms of operations, how you work, but also the math, how you come up with rates, and then the idea of being positive. We know that every time that we're working with a utility, that negative messaging always tests real poorly with the public. So, one of our recommendations going forward is going to be to speak positively about it. So our communications objectives are based on the conversations that we had with you and our assessment of current state. And of course, these are the top three, which is that information is provided to your customers and your community in a multitude of ways. Lots of layering effect and to really get the word out there. Number two, an objective is that there's enhanced understanding of the value of this opportunity. And then finally, that there are multiple opportunities for your customers and community to ask questions and provide input. We want them to be involved in this process. When we think about your stakeholder audiences, it's important to remember that stakeholders exist within the organization, not just on the outside. And you want to start from the inside and work your way out, which is why you see yourselves in that center of that circle. So the messaging and the learning begins inside, and then with everyone on the same page internally, we work our way out from there. First to your government partners, then to your community partners, and ultimately to your customers. Next is your message platform, your list of messages, the ways that you're going to talk about this project. And in our assessment, our review of the messages you were using showed that the key elements were already there. And they fall into these broad categories. And we made some minor adjustments, some enhancements, a few additions. So just showing you the top 4 primary messages, but understand that there is a series of 3 to 5 kind of supporting messages that go under each one of these. So first of all, that you are a trusted provider of reliable water that is essential to everyday life, reminding them of that unique role that you play within the community. Number 2, that the water everyone relies on comes through this complex but time-tested system, and it proves its value every time you turn on the faucet. This speaks to the importance of really supporting ongoing investments in your infrastructure when needed. Third is this idea that you're exploring the once in many generations opportunity to secure local and reliable water supply, which will benefit your community for generations to come. And then finally, that notion that We're seeking conversations. We're not just telling you something. We're not just telling you what to think. We're telling you what's happening so that you can ask questions, develop your own understanding, and arrive at your own conclusion. One other thing I want to mention about messaging, and we're going to talk about this, words really matter. So how you talk about this to your customers and your community will have tremendous impact on how people will feel about this project. So to that point, just to let you know, Matt and I will follow up with each of you board members in the next week or two to share the key points and make sure you are all really fully comfortable and consistent in your communications outward. So the approaches we're recommending fall into three main categories. Number one is all about signaling your intentions. And this is why messaging is so critical. There are some fears out there about the acquisition of the infrastructure and how you all will handle that. So recognizing those and addressing them head on proactively will help build your customer confidence in you and also address or allay any concerns. Number two is about building an informal coalition. We know that there's many groups out there within your community that will see this opportunity in the same way you do, because they truly appreciate what local control and water supply security means for the mother lode. So we're going to empower them with information and let them help you by carrying these messages forward to their networks. And then three is in consideration of the old adage that people really need to hear things 7 times before they truly hear them. We have a saying internally that you're going to be about the time that you are just sick of talking about this is just about the time that your customers and community will have finally heard it. So it's going to feel like a lot to you, but trust me, your customers are just barraged with marketing all day in their working and home environments. So we need to do a lot to cut through that clutter. I talk here about the PESO approach. That stands for paid, earned, shared, owned. And that just means paid advertising, yes. Earned media, where you're speaking with a reporter to get a third party to talk about it, yes. Shared media, which is also known as social media, where conversations kind of take on their own form with your customers and community members, yes. And then finally, owned media. Those are the things that you actually create and put out there. Your website, your videos, your fact sheets, yes. So all 4 of those in a layered approach. And I kind of touched on these. These are the tactics. Again, it's a layering effect, a mix of strategies. So a PowerPoint presentation with a fact sheet for your partners. Videos, I sent you one of them yesterday, and we're working to begin on a second one, which will cover more of how the system works, to be shared on your website and through your social media. Having fact sheets at events and being present there to talk to people. Having open houses with rich graphics. And again, things that you can give them so they can read and understand. Mailings, when it comes time for the Prop 218, there'll be something that goes home to everyone. And then of course, your website with FAQs and imagery and infographics. All of those things are the tactics that we'll create. So talking about success measures, we measure your success in 2 ways, your effort and your outcome. And we have to remember that we can't control what other people will say, think, or do. We can only influence it. So our success is based on making sure that we really work the plan, we check feedback, and we make changes as needed to address if there's misunderstanding or misinformation, that we are really looking at our feedback to make sure that we address that. We want to ensure that community members have multiple chances to not only hear about the project, but ask their questions to develop their understanding. That last element there, public support for the acquisition, is pretty aspirational. Obviously, we can't guarantee that. We just can influence it by the way that we approach that messaging and the opportunities that we provide. And then slide 4, this is for illustrative purposes only. If people want to really dig into this, I can pull up and blow up an image on the screen to show you, but this is the implementation plan going from left to right, March, April, May, June, July, across the top, and down that left side, our master schedule of things, presentations, website update, fact sheet. So in general, this month is about getting our house in order. You received a link to the main video yesterday, so getting that together. Your website enhancements is very next on our list, wrapping that up in the next couple of days. A second video, as I said, is in the works, as are a fact sheet and a PowerPoint to present to our partners so that they can then be empowered to share messages. And then this spring and summer are really devoted to execution so that by early June, when the prop notice hits mailboxes, this has been talked about quite a bit already. And then during that period of review, there are opportunities, events and open houses and conversations continuing where your community and customers can speak with staff and ask questions and be informed. So I promised Abby I'd just take 10 minutes. I think that might have been 12. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sam. That was great. That was really great visual. It gave us a chance to really digest all the nuances and the complexity of it, kind of, like 4-dimensional chess. So really appreciate it. Anything from the board wish to comment? Okay, I'll say, will we get a copy of that timeline with all the little X's in it?
You may, and I will, that is available now through, staff, and whenever they feel to share it, they are welcome to. Yeah. We may make edits to it periodically or changes as we see fit, but absolutely.
Wonderful.
Director Boatwright has his hand up for a comment.
Sam, I just wanted to say thank you. That very well organized presentation.
Thank you.
And Director Ringen has his hand up for a comment.
Yeah, I'll second what Director Boatwright said. And also I'm sure this was going to happen anyways, but I'll just say it to be saying it, that maybe we get coached prior to the home and garden show so that we're all spot on with our message when we're answering questions, because I'm sure we're going to get besieged by them. With the whole community usually goes to that.
Yes, Mr. Ringen, it's our plan to, from Matt and I, to reach out to each of you in the coming days to have a conversation about the messaging and to touch on just those key points with you. So for sure that will happen.
Any further comments from the directors? Okay, then seeing none, I will open it up for public comment. Any public comment, Corey?
Not that I see at the moment, no.
Okay. All right, well then we'll bring it back to the board. This is a discussion item. But again, with all the interviews that Sam, you and Matt did over the phone and talking to a really diverse, amazing community, that's a lot to distill it down like you did. You boiled it down to the sauce. So good work. Thank you.
100% credit to Matt on that. He handled all of those. So yeah, thanks to Matt.
Thanks. Thank you, Matt. Okay. Well,
Director Murphy has her hand up for a comment.
Yeah, I just want to echo what the other directors have said, which is thank you for your work so far. And yeah, looking forward to seeing how this all rolls out. So thank you.
Got to keep going. Thank you.
And if I may just add a couple of comments, I just wanted to just share with the board that Raptellus has been absolutely wonderful to work with, extremely attentive. I know Lisa Westbrook and Matt share emails probably daily. And so they are hitting the mark and meeting the deadlines and providing us with a lot of very valuable, helpful information. And so we have a lot of work still to do, but thus far we've been really happy with everything that they've done. So I thank you for the presentation, Sam, and thank you for the great work to the Raptellus team.
Well, it's our pleasure. We are enjoying this project and working with you very much. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Abby. Okay, any other final words before we move to the next item? All right, well then that'll conclude the information session. Thanks again. And we look forward to working with this process too. This is going to be great. Okay. Dawn,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So Melissa, will you please read our next item?
Okay, item number 5, consider resuming in-person board meetings and or adopting a subsequent resolution making findings in support of allowing remote meetings pursuant to AB 361.
Okay, that is my item again. Hello, everyone again, Abby Parkhan. So this board since, it's been officially 2 years now since this board has met, or any board of TUD has met in person here as a group, and which was allowed under subsequent and repeated executive orders by the governor, and then followed up in September of 2021 with AB 361 that basically modified the Brown Act requirements for posting, the posting requirements for elected officials to meet outside of the established boardroom and without having to post locations and opening up your homes and wherever you're meeting from without posting that and having the public meet with you at your homes. So this was related to the pandemic, and the board since October has adopted originally in October a resolution, and then subsequently every 30 days a resolution to continue to allow for remote access and virtual attendance to these meetings under the modified Brown Act requirements. And that was based on a finding that there was still social distancing is still being promoted by Cal OSHA. And so that was the finding under the resolution that has been established and has been continued to be adopted every 30 days as recently as February 8, 2022. So each month the board is to sort of evaluate the situation to determine whether they will continue to renew the resolution or do something different. And so we put this on the regular business today because there have been some changes at the state level with the pandemic and COVID-19. The state has shifted from a pandemic response to an endemic response. And the California Department of Public Health has made some updates to their guidance. Specifically of note is effective March 1st, 2022, has no longer requires the wearing of face masks in indoor settings. There are some exemptions to that, healthcare facilities and such. And also at schools on a different date, but specifically to us, it would be the March 1st. So it is still recommended. It is no longer required. Cal OSHA hasn't changed their guidance on promoting social distancing. So that is still part of our Cal OSHA plan. Again, it's recommended, not required. Just thought I would share in the staff report, I did share just a few of the metrics that the Tuolumne County is using So at the beginning of this year, back in January, the case rate was very significant here in Tuolumne County at about 105 per 100,000 people on a 14-day average. That has come down to, on the staff report I had available only February 25th, that was at 25.7. And then we just got our weekly update on Friday, March 4th, and the case rate is now at 14 cases on a 14-day average. So that has come down considerably, which is a very good thing. We're seeing that statewide as well. And so what we did is, with all of this new information, I put together as a recommendation for the board to consider one of three options. So the first option would be to resume in-person meetings. Option one is really like a go-to meetings, similar to we did in February of 2020 before we closed, but under the guidance of Cal OSHA, but resuming full in-person board meeting attendance. Option two would be to continue remote meetings, just like we're doing now, where all of the board members participate virtually. And then number three is a hybrid approach. Many school districts in the county are doing this. The county, Tuolumne County, is doing a hybrid approach right now. They continue to adopt the resolution to do a hybrid approach, which would allow both in-person meetings, but should a board member or two or more wish to or have the requirement to attend virtually rather than in person, that still allows for that as well. Both options 2 and 3 do require your board to adopt the resolution to allow for us to meet in that fashion with remote attendance without the posting requirements. Only the full in-person meetings would not require a resolution to be adopted. At this point, we have checked in with IT and made sure that staff can accommodate any one of these three options of meetings. So that's important for you to note, that, and we would still be in compliance with CDPH as well as Cal OSHA guidelines and AB 361. And then finally, on a related but separate note, is that should the board decide that they do want to meet in person, then there would be, some discussion or consideration on whether or not you wish to continue to offer a virtual setting and participation to the public. So with that, I would love to open it up to questions and your board discussion. And I see Director Murphy's hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to just share some stuff, and you can easily find it online. I don't know, I have screenshots of the last couple of weeks of what was posted for Tuolumne County Public Health, if anybody wants to see it. But one of the things is there's lag time because of how things are reported, right? So the 14-day average shows the percentage going down. But if you look at what happened last week versus what happened this week, we had 6 deaths in the county last week. We had 5 more people get hospitalized. And the week before we had 41 new cases. This last week we had 165 new cases. So our metrics are going up, but that won't be reflected until next Friday's 14-day thing, because the 7 days prior to that were low. But the last 7 days have been on a pretty steep trajectory up. We are, if you look at the CDC's map, we're orange, which is community level high. And if you look at the CDC's guidance on community level high, nothing is mandatory anymore, right? It's just please use common sense and make the best decisions for your community. and for our community sitting in a high level thing, even if we were to have meetings in person, it would be irresponsible not to have people masked and social distanced. CDC recommendations are, continue even in moderate areas, continue masking and social distancing. So knowing that and knowing that we're actually on a pretty significant upswing. So the report 225 was 41 new cases. The report 3-4 was 165 new cases. So what is that? 250% increase. So just I think we should be aware of that and understand our community. That's it.
All right, we have Director Boatwright with his hand up for a comment, and then Abby right after that. Oh, Director.
Question for Abby. What is the current TUD policy for indoor meetings and stuff? Is the district masked or unmasked?
Currently, we're following CDPH guidelines, which is what Cal OSHA points to. So masks are recommended, but not required.
Okay. And then a question for Director Murphy. You seem to be pretty in touch with, the statistics and stuff. Do you know what the vaccination rate for Tuolumne County is?
Yes, it is significantly lower than the national average. So our vaccination rate as posted is 62%. Actually not significantly lower, but significantly lower than in a lot of areas in California. The nationwide vaccination rate is 65.4. We're at 62%.
All right, thank you. And then just one further comment. With COVID, I'm not in a rush to, go through and change anything as far as, CDC. We all got vaccinated and they said we could take our masks off, and then a couple weeks later say, hey, you got to put them back on. So I'm just kind of, on the cautious side with this. Thank you.
All right, we have Abby. Did you want to speak first before Director Murphy?
It's up to Director Murphy.
I think I'm just quick. And it's just a little bit about what David was saying. I think from the perspective, I am following this because I'm in the classroom pretty closely. And so day by day, we're trying to figure out what our actions are. The mandate was lifted for California, but the recommendation has never been lifted. The CDC has said for anything indoors, masks are, there's if you look at the CDC website, they have never said don't mask. And so there have been other publication stuff that's out there, but the general thing is people got tired of mandates. And so they're now leaving it to people to make good decisions with their community groups and things like that. And so it is our responsibility to be the caretakers here and make good decisions for ourselves and our community. Because my understanding is if we have public meetings, even if we were to say we encourage people to wear masks, we have that's all we can do. We can only encourage, and we can't require. If we go back to public meetings indoors, because there's no state mandate, we would have nothing to stand on to besides encouraging people to wear masks in the indoor setting, which is what the CDC recommends for a community that's at a high level of transmission, which is ours. So that's just the last of the information. I think that's the last of the information to share. Thank you.
Would you like to speak before me, President Balin?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, okay, if that's okay with you, thank you. Two questions, actually. What is the Board of Supervisors doing? And two, could you clarify that what we are discussing right now is pertaining only to the board? In
Sure.
other words, we have the option to not have any public come in, period. But this is just pertaining to the board and how, what they would do if they met in person. So I just wanted you to clarify that and then talk about what the county's decided to do. Thank you.
Sure. So the Tuolumne County is has been meeting in person. I don't know the date that they may have. I don't know how long of a period of time they didn't meet in person, if at all. But they have been doing a hybrid approach. They did most recently pass a resolution similar to ours, so that they could conduct their meetings with a hybrid approach. My understanding is they are using Zoom for board member participation or supervisor participation who are not currently at the meeting, but it's more of a webinar setting so that the supervisor actually is more like teleconferencing in, and the public participation is also a viewing and a listening and a providing comment via teleconferencing, but they're not necessarily in the same Zoom type interactive meeting that we are in. And then your second part was to clarify, yes, the board can decide all measures of types of meetings. If your board could decide to meet in person with just the board and allow for just remote participation with the public, if that's what you so choose. Specifically, again, I know I sound like a broken record. I think on the resolution only needs to be adopted if board members are going to continue to remote in, attend virtually or via teleconference without the posting requirements. And then I just wanted to clarify, though, you listed all of the correct numbers, Director Murphy. However, I would note that the March 4th is a weekly update. That's the first weekly update. Prior to that was a daily update. And so the week prior to that actually was 156 cases, because the February 25th update was a daily. That was for that day only. So if you look back, there was a report from the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th as well for that week. Starting March 4th was the first weekly update. So it was similar. So it was 156 that week and then 161, like you said, on March 4th. So hopefully I answered your question, President Balin. Okay, great. Director Boatwright?
Just one other thing. Under the state's current allowing of virtual meetings, is there an end date currently on that? And what is that?
Yes. So under AB 361, it applies to 3 separate acts. The Brown Act is one of them. The Bagley-Keene Act is another one, and the States University is another one. For the latter two, it's March 31st, 2022, which is coming up. But for the Brown Act, which covers the district here, it is January 1st, 2024 would be the sunset on that unless anything changes.
Okay, do the second two, I'm not familiar with the second two acts that you mentioned there. Do they affect the district?
No, they don't. They affect, the only reason I brought them up is because there is many different dates in AB 361 that affect state agencies and universities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have Director Balin and Director Murphy and Director Kearns all hands up with comments. So we'll just kind of go down the line. If Director Balin wants to start, then we'll go with Murphy and then Director Kearns. Oh, hold on. You're muted at the moment, Director Balin.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right. So Abby, thank you for clarifying this and putting it in context. And also I appreciate Director Boatwright and Director Murphy, Director Murphy for putting this in context. I personally feel that I would like to have a hybrid, which would mean that those that felt that it was responsible to serve the public in a safe manner, considering their vaccination status, et cetera, to meet, that we craft something so we can be in our boardroom without masks, but yet have the public come in if we have the technology to do that. So I just want to sort of actually say I would be in favor of closely monitored conditions on meeting in person, and those that did not feel comfortable could meet from home. That's just me speaking as one board member. Thank you.
Go ahead, Director Murphy.
I realized that there was one other thing that I knew that you guys might not be aware of. And so because I am teaching in the classroom, I am listening in on board meetings and different things for the whole district, for the college district, as well as the local high school stuff that's going on. Anyway, our local Department of Health, which is kind of merged with, I believe it's the same person running Mariposa's and Tuolumne counties. Mariposa and Tuolumne County are both in the orange. We're both in that high level according to the CDC. And so his recommendation was still masked and social distanced if you're going to be inside and in a well-ventilated area. So for indoors in our county, our public health is saying indoors, masks, social distancing, still not mandated, just recommended. And I think that really listening to that is important. And I understand the want to be in person, but I also feel like there's a bit of a not really equity. It's having the public only be able to access the meetings online and having the board members in a room together, for me seems that it's different levels of access. And for me, for the public meetings, I'd rather see us when we can fully open meetings and be in person. That means it's safe to have those meetings, and I would like to see us. I would like to see us do that. I would also like us to pay attention to what our local county health is doing and be on the side of caution rather than on the side of moving quickly. And part of that is in noticing the age of people who attend meetings, both board members and public, of just understanding, even with vaccines, people are still having a hard time with, we're still having hospitalizations, we're still having deaths, and I think it's something to pay attention to.
Director Kearns.
Easy there, Director Murphy, on the age comment. Just teasing. Well, I'll tell you, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not in favor of attending a public meeting with a mask on. I'm just not. I'd rather stay home and continue on Zoom. However, I do have a question on the hybrid, based on your comment there, Director Murphy. Abby, if we do the hybrid, did I hear Director Murphy correct that the public cannot attend, or was that something I misread into the conversation?
I'm just correcting what I said.
Sure.
thought that what I heard Abby say is the directors could meet in a room, but the public would be doing that on participating online if we went back to full. Yeah, Abby, clarify.
Sure. Sure. My response was to President Balin. She mentioned that could be a way to do it. There really is a lot of flexibility on the hybrid model, and a hybrid model could be some board members in person and some public members in person and some board members remote and some public remote. So any which way you go about it, it can be done if you have the board meetings being held via Zoom. So we could have board member 1, 2, and 3 in person with the boardroom open to people that want to come in person and attend public. And we could also then have board members 4 and 5 on Zoom attending, as well as open up the Zoom meeting to the public as well and conduct a meeting that way.
Okay. The other question I have is, what do you need from us today? Do you need is it time to renew our if we decide to stay at Zoom, it is time to renew our item? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, regardless of, again, unless it's 100% full in-person meeting, the resolution does need to be adopted because it's on the every 30-day sequence.
Okay. President Balin, I'm just curious, would it be okay for us just to do a little straw poll here to see who might attend, or is that some kind of a Brown Act violation?
How about we wait till all the directors have spoken first?
Sure. You bet.
Ron has his hand up? Okay, but I think that would be a good idea. Okay.
Okay, just a real quick question for Abby. If we were to choose doing the whatever you call it, some there in person and some on Zoom or something like that, if there was a board member that decided they were going to attend by Zoom, would they then have to notice their house and that sort of thing?
No, just as long as the board adopts the resolution that is in the board packet. If you adopt the resolution, that resolution allows for any measure of a full teleconference, remote or virtual, however you want to call it, meeting, up to just allows 1 or 2 board members or any level of number of board members that wish to continue to meet virtually.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Director Boatwright.
Thank you. Yeah, under the Assembly bill for the Brown Act, up until January 1st, 2024, by resolution, we'd be able to change back to full remote or modify the hybrid meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, if circumstances changed, and at any point during that time, the board could adopt a resolution in favor of under the modified Brown Act version for the posting requirements for a virtual meeting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So Jeff, do you want to take a little straw poll here?
Yeah, that might impact how we want to proceed here. If we know, if we got 5 people who want to meet in person, well, then we got 5 people who want to meet in person. If we don't, well, then we need to maybe go a different route. I'm just curious.
Well, I've already stated that I'd like some kind of modified in person or home if that's somebody's comfort zone. And by passing the resolution, we're already covered with if we need to all drop back and then meet via Zoom. So that's kind of how I feel about it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm leaning that way, but I'm still curious as to see who might want to show up in person and who doesn't, if everybody's comfortable in answering that question. Okay.
Well, so it sounds like I would be willing to show up in person, and you would be willing to show up in person. Anybody else will? You want to just signal? You'd be willing to show up in person?
Yeah, I would. I think it's in that, you know, that's what the board is all about. And it's just a shame this pandemic came along and disrupted everything. So it'd be nice to get back to some sense of normalcy.
Yeah, I'm still on the cautious side. You know, like I said, economically, you know, Zoom is pretty cool. You know, there's no gas involved to get out there and jump up to the office. But, you know, pretty easy. Sounds like we may be leaning towards a hybrid. Now, under the hybrid, would we have to notify Melissa whether we're going to be Zoom, or is it a modification of Zoom that we would be under?
Yes, I believe it would be important for us to know ahead of time so that Corey could prepare as far as, you know, what type of meeting it would be if he's setting up a camera in the boardroom. And so he knows at what level of participation each of you would be, so he could prepare for that. Director Murphy?
Yeah, my 2 cents is that I really do feel like we should be paying attention as a utility that deals with health and safety, that we should be paying attention to what our county public health people are saying. And if we're disregarding that, I think that speaks to the whole of the organization, that we are disregarding that. So for me, that's a big thing to say, that if county health is saying, if you're going to be, we don't recommend this, and if you're in the high zone, that you should be social distancing, you should still be wearing masks indoors. I would say that if the board is meeting indoors together, there should be social distancing and masking, because that is currently what our county public health is recommending for indoor. For outdoor, it's not as much of a concern, but I do think it reflects badly on Tuolumne Utility District to disregard what the Tuolumne County Public Health is recommending. It's not a mandate anymore. We have the choice, but that shows what our choices are. Mandate's easy. You just do what you just do what is being told. But if a board decides to not do what the county public health is recommending, I think, to me, that speaks not only about the board, but also about the organization. So just in the midst of all of this, where we are really trying to put forward what TUD stands for, I think public safety and health should be primary on our radar. And we shouldn't, just because people want to sit in the same room together, it's not more effective, it's not more efficient, it's a little more heartwarming, you know, or a little bit more, you feel a little bit more like a team. But I don't think it's a wise decision. And so that's my 2 cents. And I think that we as TUD need to be making wise decisions. And I think as a board, we need to be making wise decisions and going along with our county public health recommendations, I think, is important.
Is there any other director that wishes to chime in before I open it up for public comment?
President Balin, I have one other question. to the group. Does anybody feel that our Zoom meetings are not cooperative and productive as far as accomplishing our goals that we were set out as a board?
I'll make a comment to that to you, David.
Sure.
Actually, I did not like Zoom early on, but I really think it has served its purpose very well. And I think there's going to be a place for it going on in the future here as well. But so to answer your question, yeah, I think Zoom's have served its purpose very well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Boatwright. Corey, is there any member of the public that wishes to comment?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Then I will bring it back to the board to vote on one of these options or a recommendation for one of these options. Director Murphy.
Since we'll be revisiting this again in 30 days, I think I would move that we continue fully online at this moment in considering what the experts are saying.
Thank you. So you're making a motion for option 2.
I don't have the options in front of me, so I'm
You don't have your agenda in front of you. Okay, so you are recommending to continue full remote meetings pursuant to AB 361 by adopting the resolution.
correct. Yeah, I was on to the next.
Is there so you're making a motion, is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Any member of the public, Corey?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, then I will call for a vote. Melissa?
Okay, Director Balin?
No.
Okay, Director Boatwright?
Aye.
Okay, Director Kearns?
No.
Director Murphy?
Aye.
Director Ringen?
No.
Okay, motion fails 3-2.
Is there another motion for one of these options?
Yeah, I think it's worth a try to take a shot at the hybrid. So I'm going to make a motion that we pass a hybrid style of meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment? Any
Not
further
at the
board,
moment, no, but
any further board
Director Murphy
discussion?
does.
Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Director Murphy has her hand up, yes.
Just a clarification on that. Would that be with social distancing and masking as our local health is recommending?
Not in my motion, at least for the masking. I'd be open to discussion for the 6-foot social distancing. Abby, I don't know, how's the boardroom set up now?
It's currently set up with a very large rectangular table, but so because we haven't set it up for an in-person board meeting, but we would remove at least half of the chairs that we would normally put out, and we can do it in any way that the board wishes. But what I envisioned is that the chairs would be spaced out quite a bit, probably a third of what you would see at a typical board meeting.
And
I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Just and would the public be allowed in, and if so, how would that work?
Are we amending the motion? Point
No,
of order.
I'm asking questions about it. It's the discussion portion. So I understand the motion. Like right now, as it is, it's not it probably should be amended, but right now I'm just asking what the intent of it is.
Is that to Director Kern?
I don't know who's answering the question, but what I don't understand is it like who all is in the room? How is it going to be done? If all 5 board members are in the room, is the general public in there as well? How many staff members? Like how many people are going to be in the room, and is social distancing a possibility within that?
Well, I can let you out. I don't want to step on your toes, Director Kearns, and certainly there's a lot of board decisions to make. But the way we would have the dais set up is that we have spaced it out so there is social distancing on the dais, and then we could put staff, any staff that are presenting to the board at tables below, and then with about a third of the chairs for the public in there. That's the way I envisioned it. I don't have a specific number. The room says full occupancy 76, so we would cut that way down. I envision roughly 10 to 12 chairs for members of the public, and then probably your executive managers and the board, and Melissa and Corey.
And people would be welcome to wear masks, but they would not be required to.
Yes, all of our signage and our verbiage here is, we've never said no masks. We say masks are recommended, but they're no longer required.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification. That's
okay, you're welcome.
Want to know what I'm voting on?
You bet.
And I'll go ahead and amend my motion to go with the hybrid model. Masks not required. Social distancing. Man, I'm struggling today. Social distancing, as per the current board setup that you just described there, Abby. And does that suffice? Is that enough to go on there?
Can I ask for one word change on that, which is putting things in the positive versus the negative. On the mask thing of masks optional would be better than one way is encouraging people not to wear masks. One way is still making people feel comfortable wearing masks.
I'm comfortable with mask optional.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Is that good, Abby, or do you want me to restate it? Or President Balin, whoever wants to answer.
That sounds good. Director Ringen, is that acceptable for you to second?
Yes, I had spoke at length with GM Perkins about this situation, and he and staff have that thing figured out pretty good as far as the boardroom goes. So, I mean, I'm a high at risk person, and I'm concerned, but I know that staff and GM Perkins is going to take care of us and make sure that things go smooth. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. So we still have, all right, we have a first and a second, and then Director Boatwright. Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to be clear on the motion. It's adopting the hybrid resolution where a board member has a choice of in-person or remote access. All right. You see Jeff. All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Correct.
Excuse me, Barbara. My motion in no way is intended to force anybody to be uncomfortable and come if they don't feel like they would like to. If they want to stay home and do it, great.
Corey, is there any public comment on the amended motion?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, well, with that, then, Melissa, will you please call for the vote?
Okay, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatwright,
Yeah. Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Nay.
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for a discussion on that item. We'll move to the next item. Melissa, will you please read our last item?
Okay, item number 6, discuss strategic planning options.
Okay, that's my item. Round it up. So thank you all. So this item is before you because I am feeling the need to at least have an open discussion with the board. So strategic planning sessions happen with most districts like us, and as far as I know, most of the time they are facilitated by a professional organization that's used to facilitating such endeavors. The district, the last time the district had a full-on strategic planning session workshops was in 2019. It was again just updated without a full-blown workshop in 2020. In 2021, it sat idle. Before 2019, it was up. We had a full-blown facilitated strategic planning session in 2015. And then before that, as far as I know, it was the last before in 2008 before that. So you know, the reason I'm bringing this to you is I feel the need. It's as a general manager's job to check a lot of boxes here, make sure we're all in accord doing what we think is sound and responsible. And strategic planning is a best management practice. It's recognized. It's just what we do. How often, the frequency, I think, is debatable. But the fact is, you know, we haven't had a strategic planning session since 2019. This current management team and this current board team has not had a strategic planning session, and I think that's important. I also think what's important is, even though, you know, you could say, well, 2019 wasn't all that long ago, that's kind of true, but also is true is many things have changed. The district has changed, the county has changed, the state, the world, everything's sort of evolving and changing. It always does. And so therefore, it may be time for a new strategic planning session. I think our current strategic plan is good, it's well done, but I'm not so sure it's current, and I'm not so sure there's some items not listed in there. So that's why I'm bringing it to you. There is a fiscal impact, you know, ranging from around 68,000 to 79,000. The reason for the range is the 79,000 option is for fully in-person workshop meetings, so we can do this in person. So that's why there's a range in there. Otherwise, it's without fully in-person, it's 68,000. The other thing that's important is it wasn't budgeted. You know, we went through this the budgeting process over a year ago under a different general manager, and this just didn't get budgeted. But still, I just feel as your new GM and with the new manager, I feel like it's important to bring this to you for the discussion. You have a couple of options. We could have a full-blown strategic plan facilitated or not, perhaps, or you can have just an update of the 2020 strategic plan, which I think may be important and to do as well. So from the time I had this put on the agenda and got it out to you last week, you know, internally here at the district, we had a couple of different meetings on a couple of different topics, and all of those centered around our budget, right? So if you remember last time we met, Steve had a mid-year budget review where he talked about how our budget is fine, however, right, there's a lot of uncertainty with inflation and things of that nature. So he wanted to raise a little flag of caution, maybe an orange flag of caution. And then last week happened, and you know, in our some of our internal CIP discussions for this fiscal year, we're starting to have to make some real tough decisions because of the cost of services, because of the cost of inflation. We're going to have to decide, you know, pick and choose and stay within budget. So this is where I'm at. You know, on one hand, I can see a real need to get this done, to do this. It would be good and healthy for this board and this management team to have a good, recognized strategic plan. But on the other hand, I'm just a little bit concerned at the budget impacts it will have. So anyway, I'm open to some questions, but I'm really hopeful to get a board discussion. So thank you. Director Ringen.
Okay, I am a firm believer in strategic plans. I think that they help keep things going in a forward direction. The only thing that I would like to bring up, well, there's a couple of things I want to bring up. One is I want to agree with you and with Steve that we need to really watch how we spend the money. That's number one. Number two, as a suggestion, couldn't we do this, hate to keep using this word hybrid, but strategic plan to where we can discuss some of the new issues that are facing TUD, and maybe have the board and staff work together to try and put together a roadmap where we want to try and go, while also putting dollar amounts to it. Have Steve in the finance department, as well as the engineers, maybe put some dollar amounts to it, and just do it all in-house. This could be like a workshop or just a board meeting that would have one large agenda item, and that would be it. I'm just throwing that out as an idea in order to avoid spending thousands of dollars on an outside planner or facilitator, and then maybe look at something like that again next year or something.
Thank you,
Just a
Director.
suggestion.
I'll try to respond in some manner. And yes, I think we can do just about anything. Hybrid, totally in person. You have the ability to do anything in that manner. Whether or not it's facilitated or not, again, in my experiences, most of the time they're facilitated. Could we do it in-house? I suppose we could, and whatever we get out of it, we get out of it, I suppose. But when it comes down to, I don't think in all the strategic planning sessions I've been involved with, we don't boil it down to the dollars and cents of what something might cost. If you're referring to CIP projects, typically what you end up with are goals, right, and objectives. Besides, you might touch on your mission statement, see if it needs to be tweaked one way or another. You may want to look at your vision and see if it needs to be tweaked, considering the new world we live in today, and that may drive you to change up your core values. But in the end, you're going to end up with a set of strategic goals, very high-level goals. In this current planning session, we have 7, high-level goals, and then you go through the rest of this document. It talks about what sort of strategies you're going to do to accomplish those goals. But not in this section do you see anything with refers to finances and costs. So I think that's a different thing. So your strategic plan, I think, drives us in part to our CIP, capital improvement plan, and that's where we boil it down to what things cost.
Well, how about if we took the last strategic plan and just went through that just to see if there's anything that we feel needs to be tweaked or changed. And there's three members on the board right now, I believe 3, that were involved in that mission statement. And that, in putting that together, back when it was first put before us, and I've read it numerous times, and we see it in a lot of the TUD messages, and I think it's pretty good. And I don't know why we want to change that at this point in time, but I'm just one director.
Yeah, I failed to mention, real quick, Director Boatwright, I failed to mention that this did go to committee, the finance committee, and that was one of the recommendations I'm sure Director Boatwright might comment on. So Director Boatwright and Director Murphy.
Thank you. Yes, it did go before the Finance Committee. It was not a, very lengthy meeting. I thought it was very expedited, which was just efficient. But there were several things that was brought up. The first being that this item is currently not in our current budget. And we are very close to adopting, next year's budget. So if we wanted to push back a little bit further and actually have a item budgeted, we could do that. The other thing that I brought up is we're only seeing one proposal, on this, and I see no reason that this would be a single source item. It's one of those things that should be put out there. So that being said, what are other cost of proposals? And if we go through the normal budgeting procedure, we're not doing a budget reallocation. We're, looking at, okay, how much is this going to cost, and getting it properly budgeted. Another item that was brought up in committee was the district is on the frontier of changing very soon into the future. So our mission statement and our, basically our infrastructure, we could end up, being part of an electrical grid system and, a larger water purveyor, if you will. So that may change us a little bit too, but we're not quite at that goal line yet. And, I agree with Mr. Ringen. Maybe this is a time where a workshop and going through our line by line, what have we accomplished since this strategic plan was adopted, and setting up some new strategic plans for the future. That's what I have that came out of that meeting. Director Kearns, if I misspoke or if there's anything else to add, please feel free.
I agree with you, David, and I think that things are changing on the horizon for us, and we need to be able to adapt to that change, and so does our strategic plan.
Thank you, guys. Director Murphy.
Yeah, I'd like to see us do this a year from now. And I hear that in the comments that I've heard from both Director Reagan and Director Boatwright, and I think also in what Director Kearns was just saying, that we are right now, well, and also just for focus, right now, two very large things that we are focused on working with outside help on is the redistricting and the acquisition. And those are both really, really important, really, really big things that we are already starting down the road on. I don't want to see us add this on at this moment. And I think after those two processes, we would be better suited to know what we're looking at for the future of Tuolumne Utilities District. Also, what I would say is just that I think like the mission, vision, and core values of TUD shouldn't have changed, because those are the things that we stand by. And they're written very nicely in the style. It's a very beautiful document that I can tell that you all spent a tremendous amount of time on this process before. And when I look at the mission statement, I'm in agreement with that. When I look at the vision statement, yes. When I look at the core values, yes. And when I look at the strategic goals, those also seem to be, I don't think our I would be surprised if we were changing those. And I understand that it's a 131 page document, and there's lots of things in that might, on the smaller level, would be appropriate to tweak or change. But I right now feel like putting that on our plate again is taking the focus away from. I feel it's a good strategic plan for the moment, and the idea of coming back to that when we're a little bit further down the road with the two massive things that we are doing that fundamentally change TUD. I'd like to see us fully understand those before we dive into the strategic plan.
Thank you, Director Murphy. Go ahead, Director Balin.
Thank you. I really appreciate this going to committee with you, David, and you, Jeff. I appreciate your thoughtful discussion on this, the fact that it wasn't budgeted, and also looking at perhaps having a review of the existing. I think, David, you mentioned taking a look at the review of our strategic plan to see what we've accomplished in terms of action items, kind of familiarize the board with the plan and what we've done and what we haven't. That would make sense to me also. So at any rate, I just wanted to say I appreciate that this has gone to committee. I still think it would be valuable for this full board to meet together and review it so that we can be familiar with it if we continue with this for another year until we, like you said, David, kind of cross that line where now we really know that we've quadrupled our water portfolio or our revenue portfolio into hydro, let's say, and recreation. But I think a review would be in order so that at least we're all familiar on what we've accomplished and just a kind of an update of this. So at any rate, so again, I thank you for your committee work.
Thank you, Director Balin, and thank you all for your comments. It was very helpful. And Director Balin, if it's okay, I think you and I can work together to pinpoint a good date for a workshop, and then I guess we'll have Melissa send out a poll to see if everybody can meet on some particular date. So thank you. That was helpful.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from the public, Corey, on this item?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I believe that concludes the last item, and then we will move on to staff reports.
Okay, I'll got a couple of things. I just on March 2nd, I attended the Tuolumne County Natural Resources Committee meeting down at 2 South Green Street. It was a good meeting. In attendance was, in particular, Jason Kiken, the forest supervisor, and he reported out on the progress of his Cerro project and all of the reviewing and other processes they have to go through to get that underway. So it was a good report from him. The rest of the meetings mostly centered around everything related to wildfire risk reduction programs that all of the different entities within the county are trying to take on, such as TUD, right? So we have a number of little and larger projects that we've done over the years and contemplating moving further, including what we just did at Brentwood tank site that Lisa championed, and we just completed that little treatment there. So I think the idea from the county here, I can kind of sense them trying to figure out, who's doing what has been done, and what is contemplating being done, and then finding out what the gaps are in the middle. So that's pretty much what that meeting was about. It was a good meeting, and I look forward to, I know there's going to be some upcoming workshops and meetings along those lines. So I'll be paying close attention. Lisa and I and Eric Hall will be paying attention to. And then on March 3rd, I met, a few of us here at TD met with Stephanie Stews and the Chicken Rancheria tribe to discuss our further work on trying to secure a water supply out of New Maloney's. That process has just taken an awful lot of time and a lot of hard work. It's not something that's done every day, and the Bureau and the tribe and us, we're just trying to figure out a way through that. We're about to have another meeting scheduled, a joint meeting with TUD, the Chicken Ranch, and the Bureau here. It hasn't been scheduled, but it's coming up pretty soon. I'll keep you posted. That's all I have.
Thanks, Don. Any other staff?
Abby?
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that Lisa Westbrook is putting together some information, has already a lot of information on the process that we go by when we're seeking out grants, what grants have been awarded, what grants are available, what grants we've applied for, and for what projects. And so we're going to, or she will be leading a presentation in the next couple of board meetings. I believe we're shooting for April for that, to give your board a presentation on that, just so you all understand what's in the works as far as grants go. And so that should, I imagine, we should have a good conversation about that, and so that you understand, we do have a lot of fuels in the fire as far as, we're paying very close attention to what is out there and what is available for TUD, so that we can, leverage our customers' dollars as far as possible. So if Don or Lisa have anything to add, they can chime in, but just wanted to let you know that's coming down the pike in the next month or so.
Yeah, thank you for saying so. I don't have anything to add, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that presentation. We'll be working on that here directly to get it ready for you. It should be good. Good information.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Okay, I saw Steve, you were shaking your head, so okay, thank you. You did a lot last board meeting, so thank you. Okay, all righty. Corey, is there anyone from staff that has her hand up that we don't see?
Not that I see now.
Okay, then we'll go on to directors' communications and reports.
I'll start off real quick. I don't have much to report anyway. So we did have our finance committee. Thank you, David, for participating. I appreciate it. And we did discuss the strategic plan, like we said here earlier. Also, I want to thank General Manager Don Perkins for giving me the tour up the hill there at our tank site, and we got to chat about a few other things too. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Director Ringen.
Okay, I have this is the first for me. I have nothing to report as far as meetings. Although I worked on TUD things probably every single day to a certain extent. But I do have a question. I was contacted by Carolyn Lott, who is our facilitator for the T-Stand Irwin. And she's getting people questioning her from both the Water Advisory Committee as well as the JPA board as to when in the world we're going to start meeting in person again. And of course, if you all remember, those meetings always were held there in the TUD boardroom. So I have not given her any kind of response yet, but I would like to do that today so she doesn't think I'm putting her off. But I'd kind of like to have whatever TUD's position is on that, so I can pass along to her. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. So just to follow up on what you were saying, so staff, do you understand what Ron's asking for?
I think I do. Whether or not you want to host those meetings in person, I imagine some hybrid method in our boardroom.
Well, yes. I don't know about the hybrid thing. I didn't get into detail with her because all I got was an email. And then I called her on by phone and left a message. Didn't get her. And because I wanted to let her know that on today's meeting, the TUD board was going to be tackling that issue. So I didn't know what the TUD position is, and I didn't want to give her any kind of bad information or anything else. I wanted to hear it straight from TUD staff.
Okay, well, I think, following along with our discussion earlier, I would imagine if we're going to have some sort of in-person hybrid meeting, we'd want to follow the same safety guidelines as we just outlined, right? With recommending masks, not mandatory, and recognizing social distancing. I don't know if I understand the makeup of the committee that well, if we can accommodate that, but I feel like we could.
Yeah, the Water Advisory Committee is going to be the problem. Or that's where the change will have to come in, because the way they always met for years was with the tables the way they are set up right now in the boardroom. And so you're not going to get any social distancing there. So I don't know, the JPA board, there's only, I believe, 5 members of that. And so that wouldn't be a problem. But I don't know. I think that what I need to do is contact her now that I've heard what you had to say. And I'll try and extricate myself from the middle of this. And if she wants to try and move forward, I'll have her contact you.
Thank you, Ron. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Any other director wish to add a report? Yes, David.
Thank you. I attended the Finance Committee meeting of Director Kearns. We've discussed that. And then there's an upcoming LAFCO meeting that is on the Tuolumne City Parks District, as well as the sanitary sewer. So I'm going to attend in on that one, and I'll bring a report back to the board.
Thank you. Let's see, Director Kearns, so you already spoke, and I have nothing further to add for director's reports. So with that, I think we're all covered. Director Murphy, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. Thank you for asking.
Okay. So with that, then it looks like, I think we've covered everything. We have no closed session. So with that, I will adjourn the March 8th meeting for today. Thank you, everyone, at 10:47. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hi, have a great day,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.